The house has shrunk back to its original size, I'm happy to report. In the days and weeks after Anita's funeral, it appeared to me that everything about the house and everything in it had swollen and burst its banks, so that I felt I was drowning in the aftermath of my own life. The rooms would swallow me up. My voice on the phone had an echo I'd never noticed before, repeating everything after me, so that I felt at times there must be 2 or 3 of me in it. I took to locking some of the doors, drawing the curtains and turning off the radiators and leaving those rooms to die. I got into the habit of only using the downstairs bathroom, and I came in through the side door all the time now, so that the front door was permanently bolted. I moved into the main bedroom again, and although I now had a huge double bed to myself, I was inclined to sleep to one side of it, so that the other 2/3 of the bed were left unoccupied. Not that I slept an awful lot, no. I'd lie on my back and listen to the gurgling pipes or the chirping birds that are nesting in the chimney breast. Or I'd read the geography on the ceiling, the cracks and the lines and the weird maps that had formed there over the years. I'd study the cobwebs growing by the hour, delicate heart-like things that grew more intricate and complicated with each passing day, so that I hadn't the heart, never mind the energy, to put the sweeping brush to them. I'd count the flies going up the wall, and once I watched a moth for, I don't know how long, ages, as it flew and fluttered like a bat around my bedside light. I talked to myself too, said things out loud, random stuff that I'm sure would make no real sense to anyone else, but yet were vaguely comforting to me. And that was one of the things I used to say. And so be it was another. And for some reason, then there were none. For a while there, Anita was everywhere. Her fingerprints on the cutlery, her signature in some official looking form, her name on an envelope, even the pots and pans, the sheen, that was all hers. At night, as I tossed and turned, I'd hear the place creak and groan with her absence. I began to think that she might be haunting me. I'd feel a sudden cold shiver running down my spine, and I'd look for an open window or a left open door, but there wouldn't be one. Once or twice I got up out of the bed in the middle of the night because I thought I heard someone stirring below in the kitchen, and I'd come to the room only to sense that someone or something had just left it. But that's all gone now. Everything is back to normal now, whatever normal means. So much so that last week I decided to clear all of Anita's stuff out of it altogether, her clothes and her handbags and her hats and gloves and her mountains of shoes and slippers and comfortable looking slip-ons. Dolores and Denise took most of them away, and I packed the rest up into a few cardboard boxes and gave them to a charity shop. All of this means that the shelves and the drawers and the wardrobes are all cavernous voids now, where I hang and lay my far few 2 suits and cap coats and ties and shirts and socks in. People still stop me in the street and sympathise with me. They shake my hand and tell me they understand and that they hope I'm coping with my loss and grief. I wouldn't mind, but I'm not so sure I am in grief. No, Dolores puts me in the shade in that department. She breaks down and cries every chance she gets, and she'll count some half-remembered thing from her girlhood when Anita and she were close. My heart would go out to her, only I know for a fact that in later years the 2 sisters didn't really see eye to eye at all. My daughter, Denise, still swears that she is grieving, and she uses it as an excuse to do things or not to do them, whatever the case may be. She is cross with her children, snapping at them for no real reason. But then again, she was always cross with them, might as well admit it. Denise is a cranky creature at the best of times. She takes offence easily. She's so like her mother in every way. I pointed this out to her once, and she stopped speaking to me for a while there. I mean, I didn't do it with any malice in mind, no. In fact, I thought I was complimenting her. But she is like her mother, I mean. Everything is in order with Denise, everything in place. Monday is washing day, Tuesday is ironing, Wednesday is something else. Everything is taken care of on time and in order, and yet it seems to me nothing of any real significance is ever accomplished. That's the way it was with Anita too. She had a rigid, regimented way about her. Don't get me wrong, I like order and routine, and that's how we made each other, her and me. I said this to Brendan Dalton the other day, and he said that was probably the problem. What was probably the problem? I said, you were made for each other, he said. It's never a good thing. Out of the mouths of babes and madmen, eh? I had a dream the other night. I've always been a vivid dreamer, and that nature's way of compensating me for my lack of imagination, I expect. I dreamt that Anita and Denise and somebody else, a man, were interrogating me. I was strapped to a chair, and they were asking me about my lifelong devotion to Susan. A guilt trip, obviously. They wanted to know what it was I saw in her exactly. They were trying to behave reasonable, but their hostility was evident. I couldn't tell them what it was I saw, and I told them I couldn't put my finger on it. Well, is she funny, one of them said. No, she's not funny, I said. Is she good company? The life and soul of the party, maybe. No, she's the very opposite, in fact. Well, is she kind, considerate? Is she the salt of the earth? No, not really, I felt forced to say. Is she wise? Can she cook? Is she a good friend? Does she ever sing an old song at all? I wanted to know. No, I just kept saying until one took me a smack on the side of the head, and then he, who's the man, began to pile on the picture. Well, what is it then? He snarled, baring his teeth like a dog. What is it? What is it you see in her? What is it? Describe to us what exactly it is that you see in her. I woke up without answering, stammering and stuttering, sweat streaming down my face, and as I sat bolt upright in the bed, it came to me. Her face, I heard myself say. It's her face. And I said, adolescent, I know, infantile in fact. But it's her face. Her fucking face. God forgive me for cursing. Can you imagine what Denise would make of that? I can't help but feel some sympathy for Denise, saddled as she was with the pair of us for parents. Yes, one of us was as bad as the other. I'm trying to recall one good thing, some great outing we had when she was small and in our care, some precious memory to cherish. But no, nothing is coming. Nothing springs to mind. Every trip we took seemed to end in tears and recriminations. Every trip began with him too. It all had to be planned to perfection. No room for manoeuvring. It had to be priced and planned and mapped out and timed and safe-proofed so that all the good was gone out of it before we even left the house. I'm thinking now of an adventure in a woodland somewhere. Where was that? Denise was fascinated by a swarm of dragonflies. She was about 2 or 3. And she reached out to one of them in an attempt to catch it in her cupped hands. And Anita didn't know if it'd sting you or not. And she shouted at Denise and made her cry. And she ordered me in her high-pitched, shrilly voice, call me in Egypt, in fact, to take the child away from there. And that same day, minutes later, we came across a big mushroom like a fairy tale, a toadstool with a beautiful red roof on it. Naturally, Denise wanted to pick it, and I thought, yes, this time it was me. I thought it might be poisonous, and she cried and threw a tantrum and I dragged her off it. And later, Dolores and Anita had an argument about it all when Dolores said that we were too particular. No, too pernickety is the word she used, which for some reason niggled Anita all the more. Anita asked her what she meant by that. And Dolores said that Mother Nature has a habit of warning us off these things. And Anita told her to mind her own business, that Dolores didn't know what she was talking about, and that as soon as she had a child of her own, she could begin to lay down the law. Dolores, at 28 years of age, was still childless at the time. I mean, the cheek of her, Anita whispered that night in bed. That's right, it was that first holiday we took together. Anita and I and Dolores and Jack Francis, Dolores' new husband. Jack Francis, so good they named him twice. In a little rusty shack by the sea, which was to become an annual event for the next 100 years. Anita was furious with her sister for interfering, although if truth be told, what really annoyed her was the sound through the paper tin wall of the pair of them shagging like sheep, making up for lost time in the adjoining bedroom. I didn't put up any argument. I agreed with her, actually. I mean, Mother Nature wasn't warning us off, was she? No, she's tempting us. The dragonflies with the beautiful red, blue blacks, and the toadstool. What child could resist that? No, the truth of the matter is, Mother Nature does her living best to kill us every chance she gets. Let us mind you, anyway. Temptations, childbirth, waterfalls, and all the rest. I related all this to Brendan Dalton the other day and said I was hopeless, and that word hopeless really got to me. I mean, I know he's only half joking, but still and all. At the graveside, Denise cried like a crocodile, according to Brendan Dalton. During all of this, people, sympathisers, were coming over to me to shake my hand, give me their condolences, men with their hats in their hands and women with scarves and gloves. Some of them I recognised. Mr. Brown from Kennedy's department store was there. He took hold of me and gave my shoulders a good shake to imply that he was generally fond of Anita when she worked there. And right behind him, I expect they all came in the same car, were a few of the girls from the store, elderly women. The word petticoat sprang to mind, and Liberty Bus. Oh, and Marigou, which is the local name for a ladybird. All strange words that in those early days made me feel like I was a castaway who'd been washed up on a strange shore. Anyway, one of these women was a Miss Hogan. She linked me and walked me a bit of the way to the car park, talking softly all the time, saying that she was sure I was a big help to Anita through it all. That it was great that we had each other to lean on. And poor Denise, she said when she saw her there. Poor Denise. Was I a help to her, I wonder? I'd like to think so, towards the end anyway. I used to bring her meals on a tray, or breakfast and lunch, pulling back the curtains to let the light in every morning, or drawing them again as darkness fell. I'd turn on and off the radio for her when she wanted me to, and I'd make the bed, change the sheets and pillow slips, and that whenever she'd slip out to the toilet. And once she asked me if I'd cut her toenails for her, as she couldn't really manage them herself, she said. Denise usually took care of these intimate things, but she had a bit of a disagreement with Anita that morning, and Denise took umbrage and left. I'm not sure what it was over, something that Denise did or didn't do that wasn't to Anita's liking. I wouldn't mind, but I didn't think Anita had the energy to raise a row. Whatever it was and whatever Anita said to her, Denise stormed out the door and we didn't see her for 3 whole days. 3 precious days, as it turned out. And so I did as she asked. I cut her toenails. I got a basin of warm water first, and I washed her feet as she sat on the side of the bed with a dressing gown draped over her shoulders like a cloak. I washed them and dried them with a fresh towel from the hot press. And then I laid a towel on the floor to catch the clipped toenails as they fell to the floor. I could use these to work a spell on you, I joked as I emptied the contents of the towel into the waste bin. If I was a witch, I could do you damage. Damage, Anita said, and she laughed and lightheartedly gestured that all the damage had already been done. Breasts and hair and teeth, not to mention her general well-being and appearance. And then, and this is the surprising part, of my own accord, I went to get a clean nightdress from the top drawer, and I told her to raise her arms above her head, and I slipped her old nightdress off and put a new one on, and then I pulled back the bedclothes so she could get back into bed again. There was some old song on the radio. That's from some show, Anita said, doing as she was bid for change. Is it, I said? Yes, or a film rather. What's this it is now? Doris Day. I don't know, I said as I pulled the sheets up around her. I forget, Anita said, closing her eyes. I can't remember. I'd find out for you, I promised her. Don't ask him. I meant to ask President Dalton about that. You know, what film or show it came from. The Black Hills of Dakota. But I ran out of time.